Well, we need an actual military perspective on all this because we've broken down every other part of it we possibly can. And I can't think of anybody better to break that down for us than Brigadier General Robert Spalding, retired U.S. Air Force and senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. Basically, this is the smartest human being alive. General, first of all, can you explain the differences between China and us militarily? Because a lot of people don't realize that there is a difference. Maybe they're better at this, we're better at that, or are we better at everything, or are they better at everything? What are the differences?
Well, primarily as it applies to their neck of the woods, which is the first and second island chain in the Indo-Pacific, they're actually quite advanced in terms of their ballistic missile and cruise missile technology. Of course, the United States was a member of the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty with Russia, and that treaty prevented us from building intermediate range ballistic and cruise missiles in the ranges of approximately 500 to 5,500 kilometers. And the Chinese Communist Party used that as a means to build thousands, literally thousands of these weapons very cheaply and target both our aircraft carriers and bases that we have in the region. So they've created a very cheap and efficient deterrent capability with these conventionally armed ballistic and cruise missiles in the intermediate ranges. And we don't have currently a counter for that. The president recently, last August, pulled out of the INF treaty to give us the opportunity. We still haven't built those weapons. In addition, the Chinese Communist Party has been pouring out naval vessels in the region. In fact, they have a bigger Navy now than we do. So in their neck of the woods, they're far more capable conventionally than we are. Of course, the other element to this is nuclear. They have what they call as a minimum deterrence policy. So they have a minimum amount of nuclear weapons. We have a much larger amount of nuclear weapons. And more importantly, we have much more capable submarines. And of course, we have the B-2 stealth bomber. So nuclear-wise, we're far superior to them. Conventionally, in their backyard, they're far superior to us. Now, if we're talking about an away fight, away from the Indo-Pacific, then we're far more capable at deploying conventional troops and arms in other places. That being said, we rely a lot on the Chinese for logistics, both the things that we deploy, so the manufactured goods, a lot of the petroleum, the processed petroleum products, and we rely on their shipping. They have an extensive, far larger, 7,000 ships, commercial ships to our 300 or so. So they have a far larger ability to deploy logistics around the world, and we do rely on them for a lot of the things that we do today in the military.
Well, look, you're the general, I was a lowly corporal, but that sounds to me like a major issue if they have a fortress of missiles around them and they take care of the supply lines. What can we do to them over there? I realize we're not going to have the Chinese crossing and invading our shores, but it sounds to me like, and look, this is obviously a million miles away and nobody wants a hot war with China, but should it ever come to that, it doesn't sound to me like we can do a heck of a lot to them.
Well, if you think about it, in a lot of ways, we need to kind of reach into our bag of tricks from the Cold War and pull out an old strategy. In fact, in the Cold War, the Russians, the Soviets actually far outnumbered us in conventional weaponry in Europe. In the Fulda Gap, we had really no capability of meeting them there. Their tank superiority and fighter jets and all their troops in terms of numbers were far larger than ours. And in essence, what we did is relied on nuclear weapons to deter conflict. And that became the mutually assured destruction policy, where we said, if you attack in Europe, we're going to use everything we have against you. And that's really what kept the peace. And I think in order to go forward and actually be able to be a dominant economy and dominate in science and technology, which is, again, what we did in the Cold War, we focused on building our economy, our manufacturing, our science and technology research. And in military, we focused on nuclear deterrence. And of course, science and technology allowed us to leapfrog them. We did things like GPS and stealth weapons and networked warfare. So all of those things are things that we need to go back to and really focus on the military as a deterrent, and then focus on building our economy and our infrastructure and our manufacturing again.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.